there's just always people in the room who are maybe a little bit more skeptical about what in the world we're doing here versus everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have some questions and some concerns, some doubts. Like, I don't really know about this. And I get that. I've been there. I promise I've walked in your shoes. I've been right where you are. And so I understand that. But oftentimes, the truth is that we all experience that at some point in our lives. We all have questions. We all have things that we're not real sure about and things that don't maybe add up or make sense. And I understand that, I'm telling you. But more often than not, it's because, and this is, we've all experienced this to some degree. These questions tend to come up when we go through something that's very difficult. When we go through a tragedy, a loss, some hurt, some pain, something that we just can't understand fully. And then we begin to wonder, what in the world is going on? And maybe you got that phone call or, you got the information or the news, and suddenly life just stops. We've all experienced that. And the older you get, the more often that happens. Am I right? It's just like you can think back. And then it's in those moments that we begin to ask a question. And it's often really just boils down to why. Now, we ask in a lot of different ways, but essentially we want to know why. Why is this happening? Why right now? Why didn't you keep this from happening? Or, because all of life stops and we look up and, even the atheist and the agnostic and people of other religions and people who thought they would never, come to church again. In those moments, it's like we look up and we think, well, see, here's the thing. Why is that? And then we look down into our lives and into our world and we try to put the pieces together. And it's just because that's who we are. It's in our nature. There's something about you and me that just wants to figure things out. Am I right? We just have to make sense of things. It's like there's got to be some purpose here and some reason. I've got to put kind of connect all the dots, and I've got to make this make sense because surely this didn't just kind of randomly happen. I just have to know what really happened and why, and why is this happening and why right now? And she was so young, or he was such a good kid, and why? This just doesn't make any sense. I need this to make sense. I need this to have some context. It can't just be a random accident. This can't just be some random event in history. Why did this happen? And then oftentimes we don't get the answer we're looking for, and we begin to doubt. We begin to ask those questions, and we begin to wonder. We begin to drift. And then sometimes, for those of us who are Christians, we even have these same questions, but we don't know that we can voice them because then, we're that person who doesn't have enough faith. It's like, I can't say that, or I can't. In this generation, we've become a little bit easier with that, but, it's become a little bit easier, but there's still something in us that tells us, we can't doubt, can't ask questions. I can't wonder. And so we kind of secretly begin to drift and, kind of fall off the map a little bit. And, it's like, well, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe this isn't what I always was taught in Sunday school. There's something that just doesn't add up. And sometimes it's even because very well-meaning people, isn't this true, send us, little phrases and little verses and encouragements, and it's just like bad timing. It's like, yeah, don't tell me that right now. We'll get a little Jeremiah 29:11. God knows the plans He has for your life, and it's plans to prosper you, give you a hope and a future. It's going to be good. And you're thinking, not right now. Just hold my hand. That's all I need. I don't need an explanation right now. Or oftentimes it's just a piece of a verse. It'll be something like this. Hey, don't forget, God's working all things together for good. And we've probably all done this before. And of course, this is like a paraphrase of a verse found in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, and in the full version goes like this, and sometimes we'll just send the whole thing. And we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. And as well-meaning as we are when we hear that or when we send that, and we mean it, because oftentimes it's like I'm real familiar with that, but I'm not real sure like where it's even found necessarily. Like I just know I've always kind of heard this. God's going to make everything like turn out for good, and it's good. Like it's okay, and it's going to work out. But we're not even real sure what it means. We know what we mean, but we're not sure what it means. What we mean is this. When we say this, we mean something good is going to come out of this, right? That's kind of what we mean. Something good is going to come out of this. And why do we say that? Well, it's because we just have to believe that. We think we have to believe that, in other words, there must be an explanation. There must be a purpose. There's got to be a why. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a purpose behind the pain. Those are the kind of the phrases we use. There's purpose behind the pain. And we need to actually discover what it is in order for us. We know that the pain isn't going to go away. The pain isn't going to be diminished, but I'll just be able to endure it if I can just know that something good is going to come out of this. But the truth is, we've all lived long enough to know that that's not always the case. Or at least we're never, sometimes just not able to discover it because we've watched things happen. Sometimes things that have happened in our life, sometimes things that have happened in other people's lives. That young man got into a wreck and he did die. He didn't make it. Or that, your friend, you were friends with the girl and she had cancer, but then she was in remission. But then the cancer came back and she's definitely not going to make it. And she's in excruciating pain. It's like, we just have to know, where's the good in that? I'm not finding it. Maybe it's even just within yourself. Maybe it's something you've been battling for a long time, just kind of a chronic illness. And instead of getting any better, it's been going on for years and you've been praying for it and trying to get it to go away. And it's like, God, could you not take, in one word, you could take this and make it go away. Why not? And yet it just keeps getting worse. And, your mind is messing with you. And it's like, what is that? And it's because we just want to know. And I get that. I'm not being critical of that today at all. I'm the same way. It just seems like if we can kind of put the pieces together and connect the dots and make this make sense, then and know that there's some purpose behind it, then things will not go away, but it'll just help us kind of get through it. That's really what we mean when we say, hey, don't forget, something good's going to come out of this. That's what we mean. And it's good, but I think sometimes it causes more people to doubt than anything. And that's really the reason for this series, because we're talking about, our tendency to want to kind of pull things out and make them say kind of what we want them to say. And I think this is actually a pretty good example of that, this verse, this passage, because we have a tendency to do that. We want to just know that there's purpose, that there's reason, that there's an explanation, and so things are going to get better, and therefore I can explain it, and so now I can get through it, and I can endure, and that's really what we mean. And it's like, I can just, it's like, God, why? And then we just look down right here at our lives, and we try to put the pieces together. We try to connect the dots, and they don't always connect. And I think oftentimes it's because we take verses like this out of context, unknowingly